The NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlay to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win today. Sign up today, bet 100 and get 100 free bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. And welcome everyone back to the NFL Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Wednesday, November the 30th, the final day in November. We are back to our normal slot, 3:30 on the Eastern Time Zone, 2:30 in the Central. And if you're all the way out west, it is 12:30 your time. So welcome to have everybody back. And I am joined by my co-host. First off, I am Moneyline Mac, and I'm joined, like I am every single week, by J Mark, Mr. Old Fashioned Football himself. J Mark, did you have a good turkey holiday?
It was good. Always good to get some family time in, yell at the TV at all the football games and everything. So, how about you?
I had a great one. And obviously our picks did as well. If everybody follows us on Twitter, J Mark and I holding it down a little bit in this early AM morning show for the podcast. We both had good winning weeks. Me more on the money line, J Mark more against the spread. So hoping to continue the momentum. What did you think of the action last weekend? I know it's always a weird NFL weekend whenever it's Thanksgiving weekend because you got the 3 games on Thursday, and then it's kind of a shorter slate on Sunday. Had some bad weather games with the rain. So overall takes from week number 12.
Yeah, on Thanksgiving Day on Thursday, we couldn't have asked for better games. Lots of good games there. Otherwise, there weren't a ton of surprises, I didn't think. The Ravens Jags one, you called that one. I was on the wrong side of that. That kind of surprised me. I thought Ravens were going to pull it together there, but otherwise, I think a lot of the games kind of went how we expected them to.
Yeah, I thought not stunner, but surprise was the way that Vegas was able to run the ball with Josh Jacobs against Seattle, going for 300 all-purpose yards. And then I
Yep.
know the nightcap, you were just smiling because Aaron Rodgers, not that he got hurt, but Aaron Rodgers, it seems like the air's over in Green Bay.
Little
I
bit that he
mean,
got hurt too.
yeah, you don't wish it upon him, but if it happens, it happens. So, but the Eagles get it done, get to 10-1. The NFC Beast just continues to be a real thing. Everybody way over 500. Last place being 7-5. And we'll preview a big NFC East matchup in the early slate. Moving on to week number 13. What catches your eye going into this week?
For me, so on this early slate, the most important game playoff wise, and then just probably the one I'm most looking forward to besides my Bears is your Commanders going against
Yeah.
the Giants. The Commanders have been a red hot team, obviously, since Taylor Heinicke took over, and the Giants dropping 2 in a row. So I'm really looking forward to watching that one.
Yeah, no, obviously my team, I'm heavily invested in that game, but from an actual football fan, I mean, can't ask for a better slate here. And I mean, you look at 2 other games that have playoff implications that are cross conference matchups. You got the New York Jets at 7-4 going into the Minnesota Vikings at 9-2. Then you also got the Tennessee Titans leading their division at 7-4, going to the NFL record best Philadelphia Eagles at 10-1. So, and then you just move along in the later window. We don't have those games. That'll be Moonoff and Scott later in the week, but you got Miami at San Francisco, the history there with Shanahan and McDaniel working with one another. And then, of course, you got the rematch of the AFC Championship with Kansas City and Cincinnati. So I think probably on paper, this is the best week yet.
Yeah, it's going to be loaded with good football, I think.
And, I mean, it all starts tomorrow night. We don't have that game as well. The Thursday night game, it's between the Buffalo Bills and New England Patriots. Every time that those two hook up, it's always a good one, of course. Last year, Buffalo winning 2 out of 3. Just ask Adam how the playoff game went for Buffalo, where they didn't punt the whole time. The only way New England seems to be able to beat them is if there's 50-mile-an-hour winds and they only can throw the ball 3 times.
Yeah, and when we get to this time of year, it's always interesting when you're heavily invested in fantasy football like I am, because I need Josh Allen to do really poorly because I play against him, and I also need him to do really well because I have him in a league. So I'll be rooting and for and against him.
Yes, and make sure you guys for fantasy. I mean, we are at the fantasy football at the end of the road, so playoffs are coming up. So make sure you go check out the old fashioned football. I'm getting ready to make a playoff push myself, hopefully. So J Mark got my season turned around.
And my co-host, my wife, kicked my ass this weekend in the league we faced off each other in. So,
Oh, and you were around family the whole time too.
yep.
So it's
So,
like you couldn't get away from her. I mean, it
nope,
was like,
I didn't hear the end of it.
yeah, no doubt. I'm sure her family was poking the bear as well. So no pun intended with your bears.
That's right.
Yeah, no, but before we dive in, like we said, this is a loaded slate. We got 8 early window games that we're going to preview. But before we do so, I got to get us paid, and I'm going to get us paid. So over at WinBet, ready to win money and boost your odds. WinBet is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. We're bringing the excitement of Win Las Vegas to online sports betting and casino play. Exclusive rewards are right at your fingertips with Win Rewards on WinBet. Looking to get involved in a same game parlay? WinBet is your home with their WinBet. Build your own bet, letting you customize the bet you want to make. Great promos, odds, and payouts are happening right now at WinBet. WinBet has what you need to win, ready to play. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet 100 to win 100. There's so much to choose from. All you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet so that they know that we sent you. That's the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at winbet.com. Must be 21 or older. Present to see. Play through. WinBet is available. If you or someone has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-522-4700. All right, J Mark, let's get right into it. And we're going to start with everybody's favorite team that likes to pile on when they're struggling. Denver Broncos, another pathetic performance offensively, scoring 10 points at the Carolina Panthers. They're going to Baltimore, who also laid an egg and seems to always blow big leads. Another double-digit blown lead for the Baltimore Ravens last week. The Ravens are laying 8.5. I'm seeing the over-under at 38.5, so a low total. Give me your take on this one headed into week number 13.
Yeah, I feel like the Ravens should be better than they've looked. I mean, on paper, they should be better. Shout out to Nick Fortune in the chat who says, F the Broncos. I agree, Nick. Fuck the Broncos. What worries me with this line is with the reports that Russell Wilson is losing the locker room and with just how bad the Broncos have looked anyways, who's taking them? I can't see a lot of people running to the windows or to their books to take the Broncos. So I think the Ravens are going to be heavily bet, and that worries me. But Denver's bad on the road against Baltimore, anyways. 1-6 in the last 7, and whether it's Wilson or Hackett or both, they're 1-4 on the road against the spread this year. Baltimore 8-2 in December in the last 10. Slightly nervous about the look ahead because the Ravens always want to play the Steelers tough, but John Harbaugh doesn't really seem like the coach that takes anybody lightly, even if it is the lowly Broncos. So I'm going to roll with the Ravens and the points here and hope that they can show up big and kind of put Wilson out of his misery. How about you?
First thing that came to mind with the low total is this is a great tease opportunity to tease the Baltimore Ravens down to 2.5. So they will be in my tease at the end sneak peek. I'm going to go with the Broncos just because I still think they are a competent defensive football team. I think they can keep the game close. I don't think they're going to win. Because they can't score 18 points. Everybody sees a stat week in and week out where if they just scored 18 fucking points, they would be like 9-2 and be right there with Kansas City to be the 1 seed. But they can't do so. So I'm going to ride with the Broncos to keep this thing close. I'm with you. This is a public side with Baltimore getting a bunch of the tickets and the money, but the number seems to be staying right at 8.5. I'll take the Ravens to win this thing by 6 or 7 points.
Yeah, very could easily be kind of a closer game like that. I picked the Broncos last week to beat the Panthers, and they look pathetic. I mean,
they do, and they're screaming at each other. They're horribly coached.
Yeah, they are very horribly coached. This team is broken. So yeah, I can't get back behind them right now. They've burned me too many times this year when I think, oh, they're going to kind of turn around and be competitive in this one. So yeah, this is where I would like to see the Ravens turn it on, because I thought the Ravens had a good chance of kind of sneaking around, and everybody talks about the Bills and the Chiefs, and not a lot of people talking about the Ravens. Thought they had a good chance to make a deep playoff push, but they need to prove themselves, because they've had too many close games that shouldn't have been close.
No doubt. And I all the analytics guys and the numbers guys and the PFF, DVOA love the Ravens, rightfully
Mhm.
so. I mean, they've led like 95% of their games, but yet they're sitting at 7-4 overall because they've blown four fourth quarter leads, 5-6 against the spread. They just seem to, for some, they can't finish, which is ironic because you think of a good running football team, they should be able to finish. Sorry, I got a little thing going on. I thought I had do not disturb on, but yeah, no, they just for some reason struggle to finish games, and I can't put my thumb on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is either. J.K. Dobbins might be coming back soon. Gus Edwards is going to be back. Maybe those guys will kind of. I mean, the running game hasn't been terrible, but maybe they'll give them the kind of spark to kind of really ignite this offense and get it going better. But I guess time will tell. We'll see.
Yeah, that was Russell Wilson just called me. That's who it was. He said he can cover the 8.5, so I'm in good hands. I don't know.
There you
So
go.
let's ride. Yeah, no, let's move along to a better game because I think that game is a dud for the most part. And this is an interesting one because you got two division leaders. Interesting matchup here. Tennessee going to Philly. Philly laying, I don't know if it's a short number, but I thought they might be closer to a touchdown. 5.5 points, over under 44.5. You riding with the Eagles or Vrabel?
I think you're looking at my notes, because you said it's an interesting one, and that's the exact
Yeah.
thing that my notes say first. Interesting. It's interesting to me because this Eagles defense started so strong. At the beginning of the year, they looked like one of the best defenses in the league, forcing turnovers, stopping the run. Jordan Davis gets hurt. They have a couple other injuries, and now it's like, can they keep up with people? Can they score enough points to stay ahead? Which obviously they've been able to do. But when you're struggling against the run, one of the last teams you want to play is the Tennessee Titans. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
the only thing they really do well on offense. I mean, the pass game is there now and then, but they rely on that run, pounding the rock with Derrick Henry. So that kind of worries me. But this Eagles offense is really good, and I don't think they're going to have a problem moving the ball on the Titans. I think they're going to be able to stay ahead throughout the entire game and win it. Like you said, I think this should have been closer to a touchdown instead of the 5.5. So I'm going to take the Eagles 5.5. I know you hate the Eagles, but are you riding with them this week?
I've gone back and forth because I love taking Vrabel as a dog,
Yeah.
and they're coming off a loss as well. I've just seen it so many times, whether this year, looking at what Tennessee's done as a dog so far this year. Um, I mean, the Kansas City game pops up right in my mind. Um,
Yeah.
where I mean, they had Malik Willis, they couldn't throw the ball, but he still finds a way to keep the game close. I'm gonna just and then also they also were a dog against Indy, ironically, one time on the road, and they got the game won outright. He's 16-10 straight up as a dog. Green Bay, they were a dog on that Thursday night game. It just seems like this is I'm just gonna continue to ride the Vrabel trend and take Tennessee to keep this game close. I'm with you. I think this is in terms of matchup wise, Philly has struggled to stop the run recently. Green
Yeah.
Bay, Houston, Washington, obviously their only loss, have all run on them. So I'll take a stab at the Titans to keep this thing close.
Yeah. And shout out to the chat. Nick, I was not trashing the Eagles. And he said, Sean will not be happy. I was not trashing them, just saying that their defense has definitely let up more yards than they were at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, no, I'll trash Eagles. Fuck the Eagles. Sean can be unhappy all he wants. I'm not an Eagles homer. I can't stand them, but they are good. They are good offensively. You mentioned it, dynamic offensively with Jalen Hurts and that rushing attack. AJ Brown on the outside as well. So, but I like the Titans. Take the Vrabel as a dog, baby.
If they can slow the Eagles' offense, are
Yeah.
they a live dog?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
right off the tread with Vrabel. Yeah, he's good against the spread as a dog, but he's even better value wise when on the money line. Look at pulling up the weather. It's just going to be cold, 40 degrees and a little bit of windy. So I guess it doesn't really favor either team. Both teams want to run the ball.
Yeah, for sure. We're
And
split on the first two games. This isn't good.
I know. Well, hey, you'll win the spread. I'll win the money line, just like this last week. So
There you go.
we can hit the rankings again. I'm interested to see what you got on this next one because this is an intriguing matchup. The New York Football Jets quarterback change. You just saw it. Mike White under center. All of a sudden, their offense is clicking. Going to Minneapolis. I never can pronounce that. It's always a tongue twister for me. Over under 44.5. Vikings coming off the primetime win for Kirk Cousins. Those come rare. What are you doing here, man? This also seems like a short number with the Vikings at home.
Yeah, it does seem like a short number, and I think it's a little. I think the Jets are inflated right now because they just dropped 31 points. They moved the ball very efficiently, but this was against, I hate saying this, but a very bad Bears defense, especially in pass coverage. And then they lost Eddie Jackson, their safety, who is a big part of that defense. So between trades and injuries, this defense has been decimated. So I don't know if you can grade Mike White's performance necessarily on that. I will say I do like what the Jets did as far as kind of establishing their identity. They started running the ball a lot more than they have been, and I think that's what they need to do. Doesn't seem like they had ran it that well since Breece Hall got hurt, so that was good. Even with Michael Carter going out, Zonovan White came in and did good. These Vikings, they have not looked sharp, and we said multiple times that we thought they might be a little fraudulent, but then I was on the fence. I was like, maybe they're the real deal. And now they're starting to look fraudulent again, but they're a very good home team, including 11-4 against the spread in the last 15 against an opponent traveling over 1,000 miles. That's the Jets traveling there. I think the Jets are probably riding high. They have some more game tape on Mike White now. So I'm going to ride with the Vikings here in the 3 points. How about you?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this one. Just because I don't know, man, the Vikings, I can't believe in them for some reason. I just feel like every week I'm like, how did they win that game? I'm gonna take a stab at the Jets here. I think the Vikings are gonna have trouble blocking the Jets, kind of like they had trouble blocking Dallas when they played them a couple weeks back. I know they have the extended rest, but I think the Jets are believing in themselves with the quarterback change, and I'll ride it for one more week at least. I think this game's going to come right down the wire. I think the line actually is rightly placed. I know it's weird that a 9-2 team at home is only laying 3, but the Jets are really, really good defensively, and we've seen Minnesota struggle to block these good defensive fronts.
True, very true. So when I'm looking at it, I think of how the Vikings were able to beat the Patriots last week. I think they kind of use a similar game plan. Granted, you need some luck, but I'd rather be lucky than good. My dad has always said that. So I'm going to go with the Vikings getting lucky again.
Can the Vikings clinch the division this weekend?
I believe they can. And if the Bears beat the Packers, and I think it's probably a sure thing for them.
Oh, I know you like saying that.
Oh yeah. When the Bears beat the Packers is what I meant to say.
Sneak peek, that game is on our slate. Speaking of the NFC North, the Detroit Lions are playing good football. So all of a sudden are the Jacksonville Jaguars. So 2 teams surging, and this is the highest total of the week number 13, ironically, between Trevor Lawrence and Jared Goff. Jaguars laying 1.5. Go to Detroit over under 51.5, like I said. What are you doing here? You think the Jags figure something out coming out of that bye under Doug Peterson?
Gosh, I don't know. I think this is an interesting spot because
I love this game.
Yeah, I do too. And we were kind of talking about it before. Like normally when you see Jags Lions, it's like, who wants to watch that? But this one is going to be entertaining, I think. The Lions play good as dogs, and now they're home dogs. The same Lions that just went toe to toe with the Bills, who, everybody talks about how the Bills are elite, but the Lions stuck in there with them. Jags have looked decent, but the Lions at home as a dog, 6-0-1 in the last 7. And Goff is surprisingly good at home, 8-1-1 in the last 10. the Jags, for whatever reason, historically bad against the NFC. I think that continues. I like the Lions. I hate that I like the Lions, but I like them to keep it rolling. I mean, they've been kind of on a hot streak until they met the Bills. I think they keep it going or get back on track there. So I'm taking the Lions and the points, and I think they win outright as well. How about you?
It's weird because Detroit opened as a favorite, and now
Yeah.
now Jacksonville is a favorite, and I am a little hesitant to back the Jaguars as a favorite. We know the trends that they seem to never cover, and they don't cover by a lot of points. But I think this Jaguars team was better than their record, and I think the bye kind of got them back on track. Both teams need this game if they want any chance of staying in the playoff race. Kind of feels like a tie, to be honest, between these two. I'm anticipating an entertaining game from these two, maybe a 33-30 either way. Potentially the game of the day, to be honest. I'm gonna take
Which
the
just
Jags.
sounds weird,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah. I'm gonna take the Jags. I kind of like. I kind of favor Doug Peterson in December over Dan Campbell.
All right, storyline of this week is going to be when will we finally agree on a line?
Hey, maybe it's this next one because we got the Pittsburgh Steelers coming off the Monday night win, going to the ATL in a pick 'em over under 42. Oh man, this is a tricky one. And I should say, I could see I for the ones that we've done so far, I have not felt adamant on any of them. I'm just like you, I'm sure. I mean, I'm not locking up any of the games so far that we've gone through.
Yeah, agreed.
So it's an interesting early slate. So where are you going in this one in the ATL?
So this is weird. This line has been shifting. The Steelers have been favored at one point. The Falcons have been favored, but it keeps kind of coming back to that pick 'em. I think the Steelers finally started to unlock some success on their offense. Kenny Pickett hasn't looked necessarily great. There are some times where he could make better decisions, but he's a rookie, right? So you
Yeah.
expect that. You expect him to continue to grow each week, and I think we've seen him progress. I'm not a Kenny Pickett believer at all, but I think he's starting to put it together. The Falcons have started struggling recently after a pretty strong start, one that kind of surprised everybody. Najee Harris, if he misses, I think that's big because he was finally getting going. But Benny Snell has done a good job in the past coming in for Najee and for James Conner. He does a good job coming in for a couple games. He's never a starter, but always comes in for a couple games and is good. I'm going to ride with Tomlin here on the road. I know Atlanta's a hard place to go play, but I like the Steelers here to take it. How about you?
We agree here.
All right.
I'm taking the Steelers. Just a simple handicap. I like their defense. I think they'll be able to slow down to a certain degree the Atlanta rushing attack. I think a little bit of dream crusher in a way last week for Atlanta too, losing the way that they did in Washington. And we all know Tomlin. He's never had a losing season. He sits at 4-7 right now. On deck, they got Baltimore and Carolina. You get this one, all of a sudden, you got a chance to get back to 7-7 and be right back in the thick of things. Somehow, some way, Tomlin in December. I'll ride the Steelers, and stay tuned. This might be a potential candidate for a lock.
I like it
Yeah, I love Beck and Tomlin in these spots.
for sure. Yeah.
Yep. And let's move along to our next game. Here you go. I know you like this one. We're going to go to the NFC North, and we got the Green Bay Packers at 4-8. We got the Chicago Bears at 3-9. So the Bears need this game to tie the Packers. Over under 43.5. Do you think Rodgers gets a start? What are you hearing on the ground there in Chicago?
Yeah. So I've heard that Rodgers will play. I've heard that Justin Fields wants to play because he knows how important this rivalry is.
Yeah.
I think if he does, if you have Fields playing or not playing, it's a completely different ball game. My biggest concern is our defense sucks. Our defense is really bad, and Rodgers has made a career on torching the Bears over and over and over.
Just
But
ask him.
yeah, exactly. He does own us, but this is where we have a change of ownership. This is where Rodgers it's kind of the stamp on the end of his career in Green Bay. is Justin Fields has this team believing when he's in, he is electric. He kind of lifts everybody up. It seems like the defense even plays better, even when they're not playing great. And I just think this is kind of a change of the past decade or even decade plus of the Packers picking on the Bears, always beating them up. And I really think the Bears will be competitive. Maybe they lose by 3, but I don't think so. I think they finally get the win at Chicago. It's what all the fans want. It's what they all need. It's what Justin Fields can do to kind of just put that last stamp on. I am your franchise quarterback. So give me the Bears.
So I got Rodgers' trends pulled up right here on my left against the Bears. He's 22-7 ATS against the Bears, 24-5 straight up. Won and covered the last 7 meetings in versus Chicago. It's even worse in Chicago. He's 11-3. He's 9-1 straight up and 10-0 against the spread versus the Bears coming off a loss. So the Bears, like you said, is always his get right spot. He's 12-0 against the Bears after failing to cover the spread in the previous game. Oh man, it gets even worse. He's 16-0 against the spread against the Bears when Green Bay's last game before playing was Chicago won by 10 or anything worse. Oh man. But I'm with you, man. The Packers aren't the Packers this year. So I'm gonna take the Bears, and I actually sprinkle some on the money line, especially if Fields plays. This Packers team is broken. I don't know how many more times we can go over it. I know you you take great pleasure in saying that the Packers are broken, but you're absolutely right. And if they do lose this game, they're officially eliminated. So no better opponent to end the Green Bay Aaron Rodgers era than the Chicago Bears.
Absolutely. Shout out to the chat where my mom is checking in saying, go Bears. If they do nothing else for the rest of the season, they just need to finally beat the Pack. I agree. And shout out to Nick who said, go Bears, fuck the Packers. Agree with that. If you look at last week's game for the Packers with Jalen Hurts and how much he ran, and this is no discredit to Jalen Hurts because I think he's a really good athlete. I think Fields is a better runner. And so if Fields is healthy, if Fields can play, I think he's got the opportunity to run all over them and break another record for most rushing yards by a quarterback in a game. And it'll just be all the sweeter when the Bears beat them and Rodgers cries off the field.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I think the public is going to come in heavy on Green Bay because everybody says, "Oh man, the Bears have lost 5 in a row. They just got embarrassed by the Jets. Their season's over. They're tanking. They're going to pop up for one more game. It's going to be Sunday. I'm with you. So give me the Bears, and it might be a dog. So stay tuned.
Absolutely.
And let's move along into this next game. And NFC East, this is probably the game of the early window. Washington, my Heineckes are rolling. Winners of 6 out of 7. May crack the top 10 in the power rankings. Stay tuned. Check us out. Follow us on Twitter, NFL Gambling Podcast. Laying 2.5 in the Meadowlands, over under 40.5. The Giants have lost 2 in a row. They're not, I wouldn't say they're spiraling, but they're struggling right now. Kind of regression a little bit. So where do you want to go in this NFC East matchup, J. Mark?
So I heard that the Heineken beer is considering buying the stadium if they keep winning and making Taylor Heinicke the official starter of the rest of his career. Okay, maybe not, but still, Taylor Heinicke is a guy who's got his team believing, and they're finding ways to win. Whether it's the air, the ground, the defense, they're finding ways to win games. And I agree with what you said there. The Giants aren't necessarily. They're not downtrending, but they have struggled more recently. And whether that's the injuries are finally catching up with them, or if it's just kind of, they started off so hot that we are seeing some natural regression here. They're a good team, but this Commanders team is just, they're trending up. And that's a joke about Heineken because, I mean, he's sitting there drinking Busch Lights. So he'll never get a deal like that.
No doubt.
But yeah, Giants losing 2 in a row, and sorry to the mothership Kramer, but let's make it 3 in a row. Commanders by 2.5.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be close. I'm not going to come out here and say that we're going to kick the Giants' ass because over the years we have struggled in the Meadowlands. I think this is also a desperate spot for the Giants. They got the Eagles on deck. They lost 3 out of 4. But I think Washington's better. They got the better roster, better defense. They're clearly figuring out their niche, running the football with Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, setting up play action for Taylor Heinicke to game manage. And the Heinicke magic thing's a real thing. Whether you want to believe it or not, they've won 6 out of 7. They've ended the Eagles' undefeated season. I look for them to continue to roll. And it seems like whenever Ron's teams get on a roll in November and December, they keep going. Just pulling up a stat here. No letdown with Ron Rivera, because in Washington, after a win, they're 12-6 and 1 ATS. So when he seems to figure things out, it seems it feels like they always roll. Last year or 2 years ago, they started 2-7. Last year, 2-7 or 2-6. This year, 1-4. Every year they get better and better as the season goes along. So I'm riding my team again one last time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And I think there's something to be said about, Taylor Heinicke's path to the NFL, going to the XFL. I mean, this is a guy that's playing just for the next game, really, because he's been on that in a smaller league trying to prove himself type of deal. Now to the NFL starter. I mean, that's kind of your Cinderella story if there is one. So I really think that has a lot to do with just his character and how he can play so gritty and pick those guys up around him and everything. I think that might have something to do with it. And obviously, as a spring football fan, you love to see it.
Yeah, no doubt. And for gamblers, we love Taylor Heinicke. I mean, I
Yeah.
love him because he's my quarterback, but he's rolling at ATS in the last 15 games. He's 12-2-1 against the spread. In his last 87-0-1. Washington has covered in 7 straight games, or 6 out of 7 since he's taken over. They won 6 out of 7 straight up. So he's been good to us D-gens.
Absolutely. I'm catching up in the chat here. I don't know if Nick said you or I were a stud, but I'm guessing it was one of us.
Well, yeah, it could be A and B. Appreciate it,
There
Nick.
you go.
Whoever you're talking about. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to watching this game. Hopefully, continue to roll, and Chase Young might be coming back too, so get a little more help on the defensive front.
Yeah, I thought he was supposed to come back next week, or last week. I mean, so I feel like
Yeah,
he'll definitely be ready this week.
yeah, it's going to be fun. It's good to see Washington, or not Dallas, fuck Dallas, Washington, New York. Although I will say it's good to have all 4 teams competitive in a division NFC race coming down the stretch in December. Meaningful
It,
football.
it's going to be crazy. I mean, I still think you could see all 4 of them in the playoffs, which is crazy.
Yeah, and we'll just win the Super Bowl. That's
There you
good.
go.
No big deal.
Dream big,
So,
dream big.
yeah, no doubt. Heinicke, our final game, and this one I've been waiting to preview for about 13 weeks now. Shout out to Moon Off. This is the Moon Off Bowl here. We got the Cleveland Browns coming off the big win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the farewell game for Jacoby Brissett, because Mr. Massage Man is back under center. Deshaun Watson returns, laying 7. And of course, the NFL. Where are they going to start? In Houston, where it all began, where all of the shenanigans went down. They're going to have all the witnesses there. It's going to be this. I mean, they've made this game into something when, I mean, if this didn't have the storyline, you'd be like, oh, Browns, Texans, who gives a shit? But now with the storylines, this is must-see TV. Where are you going here, man? I have a simple handicap on this game. I'm looking forward to hearing yours.
Well, first of all, when they were doing his suspension, they had to have looked at the schedule, right?
No
I
doubt.
mean, they had to know that they were returning him to this. They were like, let's do the full season. Well, I got a better storyline for you. This one's simple to me, even if it doesn't look simple. Cleveland, for whatever reason, doesn't cover against Houston well. Cleveland doesn't cover well as a favorite. And you just know the Texans want to make Watson look terrible. Sure, you could say there's a revenge angle on both sides, but I think Watson made out all right. He's making a shit ton of money. So I really like the Texans to make him look bad and to cover by 7. How about you?
I'm with you. I think Houston's going to win this game. I think this is their final win of the year. And you mentioned it, Stefanski, not good as a favorite. This is the first game that Deshaun Watson has played since January 3rd, 2021, when there weren't even fans in the stands at that time. That's how long. That's
True.
how long it's been that Deshaun Watson hasn't played a game. there's going to be rust. Has he practiced? Has he not? This is the dog spot of the year. Take the Texans, take it on the money line, just like in week 1 against the Colts where they should have hit.
Yeah, and for me, like when somebody does questionable things character wise,
Yeah.
and then their first game back, call me vindictive, but I like to see them kind of get what's coming to them or pay for it. Now I'm not the judge or jury, but look for the Texans to make life hell for them.
I think they're going to fuck the Browns up, to be honest,
Yeah,
to keep it simple on my handicap. I think they're going to be playing their asses off. And you just think about the guys that returned to where they played all those years. We saw it week 1 with Russell Wilson. It was a tough spot for him, emotional, a lot of distractions. They lose the game. Even Tom Brady going back to New England should have lost that game if New England makes a field goal at the end of the game. Peyton Manning lost his first return game to Indianapolis. So these return games are hard for the guys returning. A lot of distractions, a
yeah,
lot of people. This one's different though because you're not welcome there either.
right,
Like the
exactly.
other guys are like embraced. This guy will not be cheered. This guy it's going to be hostile. This is going
Yeah,
to be as hostile a game as you'll see all season long.
yeah, for sure.
And the Browns are, you can't lay 7 with the Browns.
No, not at all.
And coming off the win over Brady, oh man, yeah, no, this is smash spot for Houston. So they're probably going to be featured in my lock dog and tease here. It just got really dark in this room I'm in, so I don't know what happened. I think a storm's coming. The Deshaun Watson storm, I guess. So
There you go.
that's a perfect transition into the lock dog and tease. Jay Mark, where do you want to go for your lock, brother?
So, gosh, this one was tough for me because I wasn't sure who to lock up, but my lock is also going to be a dog. Give me the Lions plus 1.5. I think they have been on the right side of things, and they're just good at home. So, especially as a home dog, so I like them to cover that 1.5.
Yeah, I can see that angle right there. God, do I lock up Washington once again? I mean, I feel like I lock them up every week and they just keep winning. I'm gonna lock up. I'm gonna go to the Steelers. I'm gonna go to Tomlin to get it done in a pick'em game. They need the game in the worst way. I know they're on a short week, but we know the trends. He can't have a losing season. Got to have this one. Stay in the playoff hunt. So I'll take the Steelers to beat the Atlanta Falcons.
I love it.
And for your dog,
You knew this was coming before we even met today. I'm sure. I'm locking up the changing of the colors, the Bears taking ownership back from Aaron Rodgers and winning. That's plus 155 on the money line. Should be more because everybody knows that Rodgers is great and the Bears suck, but I'll take it regardless. Give me the Bears.
no, I love it. I'm with you on that one, but I'm gonna get a juicier one here. I'm taking Houston to beat Cleveland plus 270 on the money line, and to give Deshaun Watson a nice welcome back to Houston with the big fat L. Shout out to you, Moonoff. Let's go Texans.
Yeah, let's do it.
And to give the audience something, if you really want a long shot, you could pair. We could pair our two dogs together, and that would pay. I'm seeing a price of 90 to 1.
Oh, that's
Not
juicy.
90 to
I
1.
like it.
Not
Not
90 to
90.
1. 9 to
9 to
1.
1.
Yeah.
9 to 1.
Yeah, my bad. That would be
I like the other
beyond
price
juicy.
better, but 9-1 is
Yeah.
still good.
Yeah. So if you want to get in on that home dog, our dog parlay there in the early window, take the Texans and the Chicago Bears on the money line to get it done.
Yes, sir. Throw Lions in there too. Why not?
You could throw the Lions in there, Lions and Tigers and Bears. Oh my! Where do you want to go tease wise in this early slate?
All right, so I'm gonna pull from your dog Texans plus 13 because I agree with you. I think they're gonna win or at least be close. Steelers plus 5 because I think they win that game, and then we talked about it earlier. Ravens by 2.5.
I like that as well. I'm going to take your lock. I'm going to go. Well, first off, I'm going to start with Baltimore minus the 2.5.
Yep.
I'm going to take the Lions plus the 7.5, and then for my final one, I'm going to I'm going to take the Giants actually plus 8.5. I think these two teams hate each other. I don't see any way my team blows out the Giants in a game that the Giants got to have. So I'll take the Giants plus the 8.5. But of course Heinicke finds a way to get it done late. Heinicke magic in the fourth quarter.
There you go. I like it. And we've been doing really good on our teasers.
No
I
doubt.
apologize that my Bears kind of screwed you over last week. But aside from that, we've been on a little bit of a hot streak here. So if you're unsure and you don't want to do a lock or a dog, pay attention to these teasers because we've been hitting them.
Yeah. And in fairness to the Bears one, we didn't know if Fields was going to play at the time. It
True.
seemed like he was going to play, but
Yep, agreed.
yeah. So, but yeah, no, I'm with you. The teasers, it's a fun way to play just because you find 3 games that you really like the sides of, and you can ride with that rather than having to lock up one side. So, if you see good value, hop in on it. If you got a couple teasers, hit us up in the Discord as well. Before we get out of here, J Mark, tell everybody where to find you on social. Hold on, I got it for the YouTube crowd. There you go. You're right there. So tell everybody where to find you.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at jmarkfootball. That's the best place to see all the content that gets kicked out.
Yeah, no doubt. And you also can find him over at the Old Fashioned Football podcast, fantasy content, and much, much more. He has good whiskey. I've had some of his bourbon, Iowa bourbon, especially after that Monday night win over the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe I'll crack some open if we can beat the New York Football Giants and get to 8-5.
There you go.
Yeah, no, all about some good old whiskey, watching some football or bourbon in that case. You guys can find me for the YouTube crowd right now looking at Moneyline_Mac. Also in the Discord, hit us up anytime. Tweet at us, like our stuff, fade us. I don't care. Just leave a comment. Like, subscribe. Feedback is a gift. We love you guys and appreciate your support throughout this NFL season through the first 12 weeks, headed into week 13. And we're looking forward to finishing strong here with some winners. Obviously, J Mark and I had a great week last week, so we're looking to build off of that. Before we get up on out of here, J Mark, you got any last thoughts?
Fuck Aaron Rodgers. Go Bears.
Could have said it better myself. Go Heinicke. And don't forget to let it ride.